Book 1, What, How, Who, Why. Chapter 0, Down the Rabbit Hole. Little Alice fell down the hole, bumped her head and bruised her soul. Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland. Addiction is a pathological disorder that affects every society and every culture on this planet and has for thousands of years. It is far more pervasive than other clinical disorders. It is a defect of brain chemistry, mental and emotional wellness, spirituality, and character loss. An addict is no more to blame for this defect than a person born with an intellectual disability, schizophrenia, or bipolar disorder. It is a defect of the human organism that is typically there at inception, but it can also be generated in the very early development of the brain and its neurochemistry. The disorder of addiction is debilitating in every way considerable, causing suffering to the individuals afflicted, their families, concerned loved ones, and to our communities and societies as a whole. We all should address it, as we are all victimized by it directly or remotely, and even contribute to its presence. We've come a long way in technology, science, and understanding since Alexander the Great's dispensing of opiate drugs to his forces in 330 BC. Yet, as a global culture, we still maintain pitifully simplistic, unevolved, and even archaic methods of treating and dealing with the issue of addiction. Drugs and addiction seem to evolve and become more textured and complex every year and every decade, yet the recovery mentality is stuck in primitive understanding in a time passed by. This book will address everyone, passive, selectively ignorant individuals in society, the billion-dollar recovery industry, government officials, placating bureaucracies, and even afflicted individuals who refuse to take a leading role in their own recovery. The answers do exist, in spite of what we've all been force-fed for a millennium or more, and you have a right to those answers. I am living proof that we can coexist with this awful, debilitating disorder and still have successful lives with families, relationships, and careers, and we can feel whole and fulfilled. We do not have to be slaves to this pathology. I cannot cure mine or make it disappear, but I live well in spite of it, and have spent 20 years learning how, and a decade assisting others to do the same. My success rate as a counselor has been 85%. The 8 to 10% success rate the recovery industry and pop culture organizations enjoy is embarrassing and simply not good enough. Addiction is driven by specific defects that find unique ways of being expressed. It is as unique as every different individual who has it. Recovery is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. This book teaches you how to customize universal truths and features of addiction for your specific personality, mentality, strengths, and weaknesses. Something's missing. Addiction is rooted in the sense that something is lacking. Something seems missing. And while that something is unique for everyone, there are deep, underlying, and universal truths about it. If we are willing and brave enough to go searching down the recovery rabbit hole, we will realize many truths that apply to us all. And I do mean us all, as we are all addicts in one way or another. We are all slaves to desires, needs, and hopes for a happy existence. We are all searching for ultimate peace and pleasure, thereby making us all addicts, varying only in degree and in expression. Here you will learn about your or someone else's addiction and deep truths about character and personality. No one will be unscathed, so buckle up. Each person has a unique personality, and so does each drug and addictive behavior. If we are going to escape its tractor beam pull, we better get to know it and ourselves thoroughly and intimately. It is well advised that you read this entire book, and not merely the parts that seem specific to your drug or behavior. There are applicable insights, strategies, and exercises in sections that may not seem specific to you, and if you master this subject, you will surpass it or help someone else to. You never know when a different drugs recovery strategy will become the one that saves your life, so leave no stone unturned. This is your life. Others can help you, but they cannot do your work. They cannot take your suffering or provide specific and absolute truths for you. I wouldn't allow a government, another person, this book, or anything else to be in total control of my recovery. I cannot risk it. I have to be intensely honest and humble to remain free from the slavery that held me captive for so long. If you are a professional addiction counselor or considering becoming one, then I hope you'll study this book, since it exposes and explores the current recovery industry, which only gives rudimentary teaching and simplistic strategies about a seriously complex issue. At the very least, you'll learn a few things you don't agree with, enhancing what you do agree with, and at the most, this will enrich your compassion to make a difference and get you to think more deeply from various angles. If you're a family member, this will give insights into the addiction paradigm so that you can develop much needed objectivity, clarity, and strategy to help someone you love and begin to heal yourself too. If you're an individual caught in addiction, this will empower you and give perspectives you suspected there were all along, but were maybe giving up hope of ever finding, and will give truths you can apply and move forward with. What's inside? 1. a definition of addiction and a look at the inner philosophy of it. 2. A definition of the varying types and stages of addiction. 3. The science and philosophy of how to inspire and motivate recovery. 4. A thorough understanding of the stages of recovery for life. 5. A thorough exploration of available outside treatments. 6. Detailed instructions on how to personally manage recovery and succeed. 7. The needed roles of the addicted, their family, and supportive people. 8. Explanations of each drug, what they feel like, what they do, what they are. 9. Examination of behavioral addictions. 10. Roadmaps for managing and recovering from each drug or behavior. 11. An exploration of the mental and philosophical driving forces of addiction are explored, including venturing into the mystical and spiritual. 12. Summaries and revisitations of the deeper driving forces at work. It is advised to do more than read the text. Experiment with the actual provided strategies. It is a good idea to modify and customize these recovery strategies to your personal circumstances, personality, and developing recovery strategies. This is essential to success. What works for me or someone else may not work for you unless you adapt, customize, and modify to your strengths and your weaknesses. This book does not judge drug use. It does not encourage it, nor do I. However, I do not pretend to be an enlightened master who has the authority to judge or unanimously decide what we should all do or not do. This book simply explores the entire spectrum of drugs and habitual behaviors, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The discussions on safe drug use is not meant to encourage, it is merely to acknowledge that there are many people who believe that their drugs or medications are more positive than negative, and I refuse to condescend to them by telling them what is right and wrong. As an addict, I'm attracted to drugs too. Who am I to sit in authoritarian judgment of them? Let he who is without sin, or without a desire for donuts, candy, TV shows, sleeping, or any other behavior that's excessive, cast the first stone. I'm all right, you're all right, you know? So, are you ready, Alice? Are you ready to go down the rabbit hole?